Britain's conversation. This is a podcast from LBC. James O'Brien.
Good morning, it's 10:04 on Thursday the 7th of June. This is Sadiq Khan bringing you your latest edition of Speak to Sadiq on LBC. I'm here for the next 30 minutes, or probably 45 minutes the way James O'Brien behaves, taking your calls. This is your chance to put any question you like to me, the Mayor of London, and I'll do my best to answer. So the numbers for you to get your questions on air are 0345 6060 973, or you can email sadiq@lbc.co.uk, or you can text on 84850. Don't forget, you can also watch Speak to Sadiq on the website lbc.co.uk or live on your LBC Facebook page. The next caller is from Redbridge, actually. I mentioned Redbridge. It's Abbas from Redbridge. Good morning, Abbas.
Hi there, good morning, Sadiq. Just a quick question, really, in relation to the Conservative Party, and what are your feelings about pushing them to have an independent investigation in relation to all the Islamophobic, and I don't really like to use that word. I like to use the word just bigotry, really, that we've seen against Muslims and Islam by some of the members of the Conservative Party. What are your feelings regarding that?
Just by way of context, the chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum has accused his party of a failure to take action on Islamophobia. Labour, of course, has been battling many accusations of anti-Semitism, but calls for an independent inquiry. I don't know if you've added your voice to those.
Well, Abbas, I haven't so far, to answer James's question, added my voices, but let me just deal with this. Look, I think no political party should be a safe space for bigotry, in your words, whether it's anti-Semitism or whether it's Islamophobia. I'm afraid the party that I belong to and I love, the Labour Party, has been far too slow to act on serious allegations made of anti-Semitism against members of the Labour Party. I also think, by the way, the Conservative Party have been far too slow to act on allegations of Islamophobia in the Conservative Party, and you'll be aware we can criticise him for a variety of things, but to give the leader of the Labour Party credit, he did order an inquiry into anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. My criticism has been that the Labour Party has been too slow to act on the recommendations made by that, and I think the Conservative Party, should look into the concerns made. And by the way, these aren't concerns just made by the Muslim Council of Britain. These are concerns made by the Conservative Muslim Forum. These are concerns raised by the former chairwoman of the Conservative Party. And by the way, look, the reality is in the Labour Party there are senior members of our party who are Jewish. That doesn't mean that there's no anti-Semitism in our party. Similarly, the fact that there happen to be senior members of the Tory party who are Muslim or of Muslim heritage shouldn't mean there can't be Islamophobia in the Tory party. And I think any party that wants to, lead our country, represent our country, should make sure there is no safe space for any bigotry in their party.
As a Muslim, really, the worry that we have is perhaps often not so much for ourselves, but for our children, because the way things are going and the way things are escalating and the comfort that these people actually have in saying the sort of ridiculous things that they say. I mean, Mike Payne, for example, who shared a tweet about Muslims as being parasites and breeding like rabbits. These sort of statements do not result in a harmonious society or a society where people treat each other with dignity and respect. They often are fodder for the far right, for people who want to perhaps not just say the odd harsh word to a woman or a man walking down the street or a child walking down the street, but take things further. And I just don't think that bigotry in today's day and age, whether it's against Jews or Muslims or Christians or atheists or anybody else for that matter, whether it's homosexuals or whatever, should be tolerated. And I would hope that you would do a lot more in perhaps highlighting this issue, speaking about it, and insisting that there is an investigation, just as there was, quite rightly so, an investigation, and there should be, within the Labour Party.
Why don't you just call for one? Why don't you just add your voice to calls for?
I think I just did in the answer.
Okay, just clarify. Because I see some of the stuff that gets sent into this studio whenever you're here. You are probably in receipt of more anti-Muslim prejudice and bigotry than anybody else in the country, and yet you do. I think Abbas, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I think he senses or fears that you might be too relaxed about it.
I think Abbas has explained the reasons why I'm reluctant to do so in relation to me. Let me see why. Because, look, young people like Abbas's children, his nephews and nieces, young people across the country, fairly or unfairly, look upon me as a role model. And if I was to talk about all the experiences that I've had today, let alone during my mayoral campaign, my worry is young people of a certain background will think, you know what, I'm not going to get involved in politics because if I put my head above the parapet, I'll get the sort of stuff that Sadiq Khan gets. And I think, Abbas, the thing is this, we can't win. When we do get involved in mainstream politics and civic society, we get the sort of vile stuff that James is alluding to. And when we don't, we're accused of living in silo communities and not being mainstream and not being integrated. And so that's why it's really important, James, for people like me, who have the privilege of being the Mayor of London, demonstrate what a wonderful city and country we are, notwithstanding the exception of these individuals who amplify messages of hate. But also, Abbas, there are people who are seeking to drive wedges between us and try and divide our communities. And so whenever I can, Abbas, I hope even you would accept that I try and amplify pluralism, diversity, the strengths of London. I'm the Mayor who has great pride in breaking my fast during the month of Ramadan with the Chief Rabbi, with the new Bishop of London, with Cardinal Vincent Nichols, in previous years with Archbishop of Canterbury. And I'll carry on doing my bit to make sure we demystify the myths about our faith, but also educate others that actually Islam is nothing to be scared of. And I hope the Conservative Party do investigate these serious allegations of Islamophobia in their party. And there should be no safe space for bigotry, for hatred, for anti-Semitism, for Islamophobia in any political party, let alone in society.
But very briefly, Abbas, how do you respond to that suggestion from the Mayor that he has a sort of role model responsibility to encourage more people from backgrounds like yours to go into politics, and that revealing, albeit that you could just glance at the LBC Facebook page to get a fairly reliable flavour of how vile a lot of this stuff is, but it would put people off following his path? And I know that you, I think, attempted politics as well in the past. Do you have any sympathy for that explanation?
Yes and no. I mean,
the politician's answer, Abbas.
I'm a fan of Sadiq, but I just think that...
Well, you saw office as a Conservative, I think, back in the day.
No.
Forgive me, I've got you mixed up with someone else. No, carry on.
No. I just feel that it's wonderful opening your fast, with rabbis and with priests, and I think a lot of us do try to engage with other people in the community as well in a similar way. But I think we need to speak out against what we see as an injustice, because otherwise, there's that famous saying, and I'm not going to try to quote it, but it's not just the people who do the bad things, but it's the people who don't speak out, don't stop others from doing those things. That perhaps cause many of the problems. We need to speak out against these people. We need to insist that there is an investigation, and it should be independent. And people who do come out with statements and say things that are clearly fanning the flames of hatred in our society, creating division, creating massive problems in society, that they're taken to task about it. It's not freedom of speech or freedom of expression. It's about, in a civilized society which we thankfully live in, we shouldn't tolerate these type of things.
Abbas, I agree with you. And the next caller is Donald Trump from... No, it's not really. And that's an example there, Abbas. I mean, look, people criticise me for, as the Mayor of London, speaking out against what President Trump tweeted, amplifying the tweets of a far-right group. So I think, if one was being fair, one would say I have stood up to people who divide our communities and try and give the impression that it's not possible to be British or Londoner and a member of a religious minority. And I'll hear what you said, Abbas, and I'll ponder on what you've said.